Hi, everybody.
Hello.
My name's Lisa Chase, and welcome to this edition of the Love Vlogs. This is my friend Patricia Murphy and Stinkerbell. What Patricia and I wanted to talk about today is something that we've been volleying back and forth for some time now, and I think we thought the subject originally was need, but I think it's need and want. And then after talking about it a lot, what we discovered is it kind of filters out into a lot of different things. So we both have our notes because,
Right.
yeah, we
This got really involved fast.
yeah, we realized that it kind of fed out into a lot of different issues. So our hope in sharing this with you is that it'll just make you think a little bit about what your needs are in your life, and we'll kind of go into what we think about need. And what we're wanting to do is sort of shift that paradigm on what need is classified as. So, do you want to start?
Well, one of the ways we started our discussion was talking about needs maybe versus wants, but I think what we got into very quickly is that they're oftentimes very entwined. It's not so black and white and even as linear as maybe we thought this was going to be.
Yeah.
That's what you alluded to.
Yeah.
And then we went into one of the things that I love to talk about is finding your compass. And that's where you really can get into needs and wants. And all of the things that go into that, and all of the feelings that go into needs and wants.
Yeah.
And what are they, you know?
What I thought was so cool what you said was, when we were talking about it, you said, is what we want really what we need? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, for example, like just an example, like the Zumba thing that you said. Tell that Zumba story, thought.
The Zumba story. One thing, I think I have a better example in mind that I think would be better, since everybody hasn't been privy to all of our conversation. This will be a little clearer. But, for example, I love to go to the mountains. And I want to go to the mountains as often as I can. It's a want. You could classify that as a want. But when I thought about it in the context of this topic, I realized that want is really truly a need. Mm-hmm. It's something I need as the person, the human being that I am, to thrive, to feel good about myself, to feel good about the work I'm doing in the world, to be happy, to feel fulfilled. So that it's really a need. Yeah. It's something I need to make my heart happy and lead the kind of life and feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
So that's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
This need and want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
connection.
that makes me kind of thread into, like, for myself, I need quiet time, mm-hmm. where nobody talks to me. Mm-hmm. I don't talk to anybody, and nobody even goes, hey, just really quick. I mean, right. I need zero.
Yes.
And it's even better if nobody's around.
Right.
Like I can be by myself in a room in the house, but it's even better if that house is empty. Mm-hmm. And so I function at a pretty high level most of the time, and I'm able to do that as long as I get that quiet time. But I don't always get it. And so sometimes when I go to get it, I'm made to feel a little bit bad for needing it. Okay, so we had a tiny blip there. I forgot to put the camera or the phone on airplane mode, and the phone rang. So we were just talking about, do you feel guilty for trying to get something you need?
Exactly. That was born from the comment, it's easier to get what you need, which is your quiet time, if no one else is around.
Well, so what I mean on that one is I like it better.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. I think it's a good point still.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know, like, in my work with people, when we're trying to figure out what it is they want and need, a lot of times people will they've identified things that they want and need. And like Zumba is a good example. That's the example we were talking about before. Where they know if they want to achieve a fitness goal, they need to go work out, and they really want to go do Zumba. But they're torn because the Zumba class is in the evening, they've got their kids at home, they've got their husband, they've got all of these other things going on. And I come across many, many women who feel guilt surrounding not taking care of everybody else before themselves. Even if they've got the support there, even if they've got somebody saying, no, go, it's okay, there's still that inherent sense of hesitation stemming from some kind of guilt and not honoring what it is that they really need to do. And it's not, it's not just about maybe losing weight. It's about giving yourself the time to refresh. It's about honoring what it is that you know is going to make you feel good and happy and be a good mother when you come back and a good wife when you come back. Not be cranky. And, a lot of
and good for yourself.
Yeah, and good for yourself. I asked the ladies, well, how do you feel when you don't go? Well, I feel resentment.
Yeah.
And I feel really pissed off at myself because I didn't go.
Yeah.
And they not upset with their families, they're upset with themselves because they didn't honor what it is that they really want to do and what they need to do.
Yeah. I saw a quote today. It was on Facebook from Mama Gina. Do you know who that is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, that's a whole other.
Okay.
Anyway, she said, we find it really hard to give ourselves pleasure, but super easy to take on responsibility and tasks and chores.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that totally fed into what we were talking about today because that's what we're saying. So you can see that there's a lot to what we're trying to say here.
This is not a linear flow
it's
chart
not, and there's absolutely no format. And so what we're really wondering is, do we really know what we need? And that's up to each individual.
Mm-hmm.
What do you really need? I mean, do we say what we need? Do I say to my husband, I need one whole day where you don't talk to me and I don't talk to you and I don't talk on the phone and nobody calls me and nothing? I mean, have I actually ever said that to him? No, I haven't. He knows that I do that just because it's been so long, but I've never really drilled down and said, this is what I need. And I'm going to take it. And then after that, we're going to do this. And before that, that'll happen. But this is what I need. And, you mentioned something that said, do we feel selfish for wanting what we really need?
A lot of people do. They absolutely do, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't feel like they deserve it. Maybe they feel like it's asking too much. They feel guilt around it. Or maybe it's even too hard, or they feel overwhelmed. That's another big one too. Or maybe they'll even feel judged. I think a lot of people experience that. They think, well, who am I to ask for this? Who am I to say that that's what I want? Worried about what other people are going to perceive. Yeah. That happens too. So one of the things that I think about when you do this, figuring out how do you want your life to look? And your life is made up of all these needs and wants, and figuring them out is crucial, because that's the only way you're ever going to get these things to come about. We've been talking about that too, about really sitting down. I think you mentioned that where up until recently, you hadn't really sat down and figured out, okay, well, what is it that I do want? I don't want X, Y, and Z. But
I know what I don't want.
Yeah. And then we talked about, well, the absence of something, like something going away, doesn't mean that you're getting what you want in your life.
Right.
So answering the question, what do I want and why is the key. What are the feelings around it? Mm-hmm. How do you want to feel?
Yeah. And that is true. I just recently started to set aside time to write down what I really wanted. Mm-hmm. And that's different for everybody. I mean, maybe you want a car, maybe you want a Louis Vuitton bag if you're me, or maybe you don't. Maybe you want to retire in 5 years. I mean, the point is, have I actually sat down and really outlined what I really, really want? And it's been really hard to do that.
Yeah.
And so I have turned into one of those people that says, my therapist says, I was telling my therapist that we were going to do this video, and I'm like, what is this thing about need? And she said, and she sees a lot of women, and she says, historically, women aren't taught to ask for that.
Exactly.
They were taught and raised to do a specific task. Oh, and this is what we said that I thought was so brilliant. Okay, so when we're no longer in a time when you're going to get burned in the stake for speaking your heart, right?
I liked all this.
And it's not the 20s. You're not, we're trying to fight for the right to vote. All those women already did that for us and sacrificed everything for us.
You're not going to be medicated. You're not going to be put away.
Your kids aren't going to be taken away from you.
Yeah.
So you can now say exactly what you want and what's in your heart, and nothing's going to happen.
Except you might get it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we were saying collectively, we haven't caught up to that consciousness.
Right.
And so what is that? And what does that look like?
I don't know. So I think we just, we've got to, this is a good starting place. Spread the word. It's not a natural thing to do, to sit down and think, well, what do I want? Mm. It can be quite a daunting thing to think about. And so one of the things that I do for myself, and I also do this with my clients, is just, get a piece of paper and don't overthink it. Just set a timer even, or decide you're going to fill up the paper with all the things you want. And it's just like stream of consciousness writing. And it can be, as simple as, well, I'd like to get a new pair of New England Patriots socks. In my case, that's always something on the list. Or it could, just run the gamut. Just let your mind go. And once you get that frame of mind starting to flow, you'll be amazed at what's in you. You'll be really amazed, and you'll get incredible insight into yourself. And it's a beautiful way to start thinking about this, and a beautiful way to start thinking about the kind of life that you want to have, and how you want to operate and be on this planet, serve. We're all here to serve, I think. And so how do you envision it, and how do you want to feel? That's kind of the next step. The things that you want, and then why, and how are they going to make you feel? And I always encourage people to be Shrek, like be the onion, lots of layers. So if you're saying, well, I want a good job. Okay, that's fabulous. You want a great career. But why? What are the feelings surrounding that? Is it that you want people to look up to you? Do you want recognition? Do you want a sense of self-worth and accomplishment? Do you want to make a lot of money? What are the feelings around the things that you want?
Yeah.
So.
And then I think the deeper question becomes, so if you keep sticking with the example, you want a good job because for whatever the reason, you want recognition, you want this or that. I think if you really start drilling down and asking those questions, maybe the new job is not the answer.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's not what you really want. And what kind of got me thinking about this whole need-want thing was I saw a woman put a post up on Facebook, and she was a health coach or a life coach. I don't remember. She had a coaching program, and she said that most of her clients were female. They had left their corporate whatevers in pursuit of their dreams, and she gave them this whole plan on how to go get it, and none of them were motivated to do it. Now, I don't know the particulars about it. I don't, but it just made me wonder, well, why aren't they motivated, and did they make the right decision?
So maybe if they had written down, if they'd thought about what they're after, the feelings they were after, maybe those could have been found where they were. Or maybe they could have been found in a different way. Yeah. I mean, you've got to figure out how you want to feel.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not as meaningful. When you attach feeling to something, it's powerful.
Yeah.
It's full of power. And also something that can help you stay anchored and committed and dedicated when things get hard and when challenges come up, when obstacles get in the way. You can refer back to, okay, it's, the core feelings, and ultimately, how do you want to feel?
Yeah.
And then how are you going to go get it?
Yeah.
That will keep you true and in alignment with who you want to be and the changes that you need to make, if any. And then just knowing what you need and want. But I think the bottom line with this is you can't delineate the two. I think that's what is coming out of this.
We're getting at. Yeah.
And I'd love to hear other people's thoughts.
Yeah,
about
tell
that,
us what you
because
think.
I've got, I tried to make some kind of flow chart around this because my dad's an engineer, so I try to do that, and I end up with circles and it's crazy.
Yeah.
All these things going back on each other. It's like a plate of spaghetti that makes some sense. Yep.
I think that, too, I can speak for myself, feeling is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first started going to therapy, she's like, well, how do you feel? I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Happy, she's like, okay, but that's not really a feeling. What's that feel like? It was really hard for me to go, okay, so what am I feeling? And still now when she asks me, I'm like, I don't know,
Sometimes you don't. Sometimes I don't. I'm baffled by it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I think it's part of the process. You have to, in all of this, it's important to respect the process.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's all I need to say about that. You just have to do that.
So another thing that we were thinking about, if you don't know what your needs are, and then if you don't get them met, then what happens? Because it turns into something else. So some of the words that we were throwing out are like numbing.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, do you go shopping like crazy? Do you drink a lot of vino or whatever? Do you gamble?
Binge watch TV. Sit on Facebook
forever. I don't know. What are the things that we do because we're not really getting what we need? And that Patricia and I have actually talked about this a lot since we met. And I don't think that we knew that we were really talking about it as I think back. But we were just talking about those things. It's like, because I started thinking one day while I was scrolling mindlessly through Facebook, what am I looking for while I'm scrolling mindlessly through Facebook? What is it that I'm looking for? And so, that was a whole long process too, but it really came back to, well, what do I want? Mm-hmm. What am I missing out on? Sometimes I like to binge Facebook and I'm just going to go for it. But what we're talking about here is balance.
Yeah.
And really knowing what you want and need. So that's what I really started asking myself is, what am I missing out on? Could I be drawing? Mm-hmm. Could I be coloring on the iPad app? Could I be farting around with that Silk app? What else could I be doing?
Well, and is what I'm doing making me feel fulfilled and like I want to feel? And I know when I just go off and do mindless crap like that, sometimes it's good. Sometimes you need to do that.
Sometimes it feels good.
You just have got to, bench yourself and check out a little bit. But when it becomes a chronic thing, that's when I think you get into trouble and you're not being true to yourself, and you're probably not feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
So that's the question. Okay, well, if by all means, if what you're doing makes you feel fulfilled and happy and whole and your soul happy and your heart singing, do it, as long as you're not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not for anybody else to decide but you.
Yeah.
But that's a lot. There's a lot of numbing that goes on, and I think it's because we just haven't figured out what it is we really want and how we really want to feel.
And what we really need just to be human. Just to get up in the morning and be happy and interact with people all day. There are some things we have to do, like we have to earn a living, and sometimes we might like the way we do it and sometimes we don't. And we're not really so much talking about that, but we're talking about what do you need for yourself so that you can do that.
Exactly.
So that you're
You
not
know,
pissed,
and-
you're not stressed.
Yes.
Like major stress.
Right. And we're not talking this about La La Land either. There are
No.
going to be ups and downs, and you've got to honor those times
Right.
where you feel shitty.
Right.
And understand, again, that's part of the process. Sometimes the most beautiful things are born out of the difficult times, because that's when you grow,
For
that's
sure.
when you learn. The other thing is that, this, like we said before, this is a pretty big, daunting, scary idea. And so I understand the concept of fear, and that this can be scary.
Mhm.
It is for me sometimes.
Big
and
time.
so
Yeah.
it's and that's okay. I think sometimes, well, now what I've noticed, like in my coaching world with women, is that a lot of people are saying, be fearless. Be fearless.
Right.
No fear. Go for it.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid.
Right.
Fear's bad. Fear is bad. But it's not all the time. Fear is something that we have to, it's self-preservation.
Yeah.
It kicks in for a reason. And if you just know that as you're going through change and as you're working through what you want and going for it, there are going to be times when you're going to be scared shitless.
Yeah.
You just are. And if you just understand that's okay and work through it and go back to your core feelings, it's going to get you through it. It's going to help you work through the fear. And just understand that fear is usually an indicator of doing great things in your life. It's an indicator that you're doing the work. You're not sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah.
You're doing it. You're
Yeah.
in it.
And I think that, fear could probably play a pretty big part in discovering what you need, because if you haven't looked at it before, your life could be just going this way, da 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 da. And if you really look at what you need, you might really change a lot of things in your life. And then you're going to go, okay, how's that going to affect my friends, my loved ones?
Right.
Everybody's going to think I'm crazy or mean or selfish or whatever.
Mhm.
So yeah, it
Yeah.
can be scary.
Mhm.
But I think that living the other way is scarier,
I do too.
right?
Yes, it is. Because I think that if you live that way, you're going to end up with some regret, and you're
Yeah.
going to run out of time.
Yeah.
One thing I always ask myself, like if I'm up against something or trying to make a decision, I think, well, what's the worst thing that can happen if I do this, if I go this way, and can I live with those consequences? And
Good question.
is it going to be okay if any of these things happen that I don't really want to have happen? If the answer is yes, then that helps me make the decision. I've started to take that one step further and say, well, okay, I can live with the consequences. What if it goes the way I want?
Yeah.
How awesome is that going to be, and how am I going to feel?
Yeah.
So if those two things are in alignment, then I'll go for it. Then I'll do it.
Yeah.
But, it's working through the fear and the anticipation and the overwhelming feelings.
Yeah.
And also, one of the other things that surfaced when we were talking about all this is giving yourself permission.
Yeah.
Yeah. To do this.
Yeah. And that's, my therapist says, most women are waiting for permission from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that really resonated with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that is so true. But who am I waiting for it from? My husband? No, because he's not like that. I don't have that kind of relationship with him.
Right.
My parents? No, because I don't have that relationship with them anymore. So who
Society?
exactly am I waiting for permission
Yeah.
from?
Right.
But I think it's just sort of in there. And so what she said, which I also really liked, was really there's nobody to ask anymore except ourselves.
That's the truth.
And that
I
made me
believe
go,
that too.
yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
So then I'm the one. So if I'm going to give myself permission, I want to figure out what it is I really need and want. And like I think we keep saying, they're the same.
Yes.
So we want to wrap this up because we're going to be at about 25 minutes. So I think what we just really want to impart to you is that we hope maybe you'll consider it. because we don't have any answers.
Yeah. I
but
mean,
it's a good question.
It's an incredible question, and it can be a life-changing question,
Yeah.
not only for yourself, but all of the people around you. You know, there's that there's that trickle out effect.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing to think about.
Yeah. So I guess that's all we'll say. We would love to hear whatever you have to say about it, and we'll love to hear your comments from your heart, you know, with deep thoughts, and you know, feel free to share what it is, because the only way we're going to heal all these wacky old things that have happened to all of us females is if we're really truly sharing our story. So let's share it. Let us know what you think about needs and wants and judgment and permission and society and all of that stuff.
Agreed. And if there's one thing that I hope you take away from this too, is really sit down and, you know, however you want to do it, get out your markers, get a stick and write in the sand, whatever you want to do. But just have fun with it.
Yeah.
This does not have to be, you know, a hairy big thing. We kind of made it into a big thing, because it is a big thing. But
start small.
Start small. Just make your list.
Yeah.
Have fun with it. It can be incredibly fun too. Use your imagination. Just, what do you want? How do you want to feel?
Yeah.
Make that your compass. Call it whatever you want. Your holy crusade, your manifesto. Whatever you want that to be for you.
Yeah.
And keep it close.
Yes.
Keep it to your heart.
All right, you guys. Thanks for listening. Tell us what you think. See you later.